Hi and good afternoon. Building a house comes with all kinds of imagination and thought, but the most important thing is to ensure you know all the options available and how to work with a reputable builder. Even with individual designs and other typical ones that we normally use for the construction of homes, you would want to sought the advice of the expert before you make your move. But that has not always been the case. You find people going to architects so blind, they don't even know the materials they want to use, and most of the times they end up getting the building they really didn't plan for. So today we'll be looking at the different building materials and methodologies that we can use for our building. Again, I would entreat you that you tell me what is the current building challenge with the current house you are staying in. And if you have plans to develop a house, I would also want you to tell me what kind of material are you considering to use for the construction of the house. You can do so by sending me an SMS or WhatsApp on this number 0500 180 697. 0500 180 697. This is the Pyramid Show. We take a break here. Thank you for staying with us. Once again, this is the Pyramid Show live on Joy News channel. My name is Emmanuel Owusu Ansah, and today our focus is on the many building materials you can consider when you want to build a house. We are going to look at the key considerations one would make, that is in considering the kind of materials they are going to use for the construction of their buildings. And in the studio with me to do this discussion, I have with me Francis Zato, co-founder, lead project manager at El Zato Group Limited, and Stephen Padi, a builder and construction manager. Gentlemen, thank you so much and for making time to be part of the show. Let me start off with you, Zato. Can you briefly tell us the many building materials we have?
For building materials, there are several building materials. If you categorize building materials into a broader group, you have like man-made, and then we have natural occurring building materials. So we have things like stones, we can use blocks, but the building materials, even though they are very diverse, I think we would like to discuss probably from the methodology you want to use to construct. The method of construction is what influences the kind of material.
But the reason to why I was asking that first is that most people think the only material for construction is blocks. But I would want to give the highlight. There are many kinds of materials they can look out for. You can mention a few then Padi also add this.
So there are several building materials you can use for even a personal residential house. We have,
even offices?
Yes, offices, high-rise buildings, whatever. You can use bent bricks, you can use the blocks as you mentioned earlier on. You can equally use ram earth, you can use bamboo, timber, glass, metals. So I think I'll let my colleague also
add Paddy, you also add on to
I think Zato
what he
has already mentioned the majority of it, but I just want to add up to what Zato mentioned. We have the gypsum boards. We have, I think, the plaster boards. We have plastics also, because plastics are also used for piping and for any other many things.
Okay.
Also. These are a few that I can also mention.
So mentioning a few, you mentioned blocks. That's the clay family. We have the rammed earth, wattle and damp bricks, and the hydrofoam. Then you go on to glass, steel. Timber. It's interesting. I discovered one that is the raffia, the bamboo, and the normal timber logs we use for construction. Then concrete and panels. Now let's start our discussion with blocks, and I'm doing so because here, predominantly, most people are using blocks for the construction of their houses, and I do not understand why it's always the case to use blocks. Why?
For blocks, I think. As I was mentioning earlier, I had a discussion with my friend yesterday. We were talking about it. Every building, the method of construction influences the materials you go for. But for blocks, predominantly is the availability and then the skilled labor to able to execute that kind of construction method. For instance, if you want to recommend, let's say, a rammed earth building for a client who is in a place where you don't have that particular kind of material that can be used to do rammed earth, you don't even have the skilled labor to execute the kind of material. But for blocks, we have people who, anybody at all with just a little phone call or conversation can make a block. Yes, that is like the concrete blocks.
Okay.
Yes, so that is one of the easiest way to make, and cement is nationwide. It's available everywhere. Unlike timber, bamboo, there are some areas that you don't have a lot of bamboo. But for cement, you can get someone selling cement close by. There's sand. There's a river sand close by you can use to do the blocks as well. So I think predominantly for blocks is, I'll mention the availability and also the skilled labor available to do it. It's the easier way to go if you are.
But then, Paddy, let me come to you. He is talking about availability and the skills that is available. But do we consider the cost involved? Do we consider its fire-resistant properties? Do we consider the thermal properties of it, even the quality, aesthetics?
Yes, we do consider, especially the cost, because everything is driven by cost in our environment here. And the costs, comparatively, the cost of the block work which can be subdivided into concrete or concrete blocks, are relatively cheaper than all the options there. So, looking at it, one would easily opt for the block instead of any other material available.
But I also want us to, I don't want it to be the case that it's because it's available. What if the principle is that it's available and yes, so it's not the best? Probably its quality is not ideal. Should we use it? It's a big no. So I would want to know, what are the advantages using a block for the construction of a house?
So for a block, it's not the most ideal building material. For instance, if you compare the lifespan of a typical block and the lifespan of a bent brick, for about 50 years, the lifespan of the block, but there are several things that influences the lifespan of materials actually, like the maintenance, the material, how it was done, the technique it was used to done, and all that. But a typical bent brick can last over 100 years. If you use a ramped earth to build, it can last over 100 years. But if you use a block, in 50 years, it may not be strong again. And also looking at the thermal insulation in your buildings, if you use the ramped earth or even bricks, you have very good internal conditions in your home as compared to the bricks. So there are other advantages. The other materials are very advantageous, like way more than the blocks.
Way more than the blocks.
Yeah.
Okay, Paddy, talking about advantages, okay? I see this situation after the construction of these blocks. You have to plaster. Yeah. You have to chisel the walls to bury in, make provisions for these MEPs, that is electrical and plumbing, items. Before you plaster, then what you call andri before you paint. Yeah. And this is too much work. This is too much items to apply, costing you the more. Do we consider that against blocks?
Yes.
And why are people still embracing blocks?
Yes. Actually, if before you build, you're able to consult a professional. The professional considers all these listed things you've listed. However, blocks, rest assured, blocks is also one of the first things we go to, because aside it has its thermal properties, it also has its acoustic properties also. But comparatively to the brick, the brick, in terms of thermal qualities and acoustic properties, the brick supersedes the block. Sometimes, and also rest assured, I'm sure the assemblies or authorities that issues permits for people to build won't be there for people to be using materials that are unwanted. So the blocks are very good; they are durable. But it always comes down to the cost.
Yes, of course. You've mentioned acoustic properties. Yeah. That is sound traveling within these walls. It's restricted. We all agree to that. That is a very good, property of blocks. But then the heat. Most of these block buildings, you have to bring in artificial ventilations, the HVACs. You are talking about the split units, the normal air conditions we see hanging on people's property. What of that? Okay,
so the heat. There are several factors which causes indoor air quality. The block will be one. You can also talk about fenestration, which is the windows in there. You can also talk about the doors. So in as much as people predominantly want to use blocks, we should also be guided by what we do within our windows, within our doors, because we can easily choose the block materials and go for louver blades, which doesn't bring so much heat in there, even though the emission of the sun rays for the blocks will directly bring heat indoors. When you're able to use louver blades, it can cut down the heat emission within the indoor space also. So some people also want to opt for artificial ventilation like the ACs and all, but it's all per choice.
Okay, now, Zato, let me ask you this question. Block construction, the methodology.
Yes.
Even when you have all the money ready,
Yes.
it takes quite a longer period as compared to the use of timber, as compared to, the modular constructions we know, even the recent 3D printings of houses.
Yes.
So what do you have to say with the duration of construction with the use of blocks?
So for duration of construction, one major factor is the availability of the funds from the client's pocket. Yeah, if the person has all the money available, so they can recommend. And also, as I was talking about the availability, depending on your location.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you are located in a place where they are doing a lot of bricks, doing a brick building would not be like it's ideal.
Mm-hmm.
You are located in a place that has a lot of laterite where the technology for doing hydrofoam blocks are available.
Okay.
You can go with that one. It's also, but usually we are in a situation where most buildings, one, maybe they have not gone to a professional architect to design the building for them, to really recommend different materials and even plan with you how to do it well. So,
okay.
Yeah, so that's another factor.
I get your submission on this, but my question was, I'm looking at the construction period using blocks as compared to other materials like timber, maybe rounded.
Okay, so I want to just say, so for block, it's actually lengthy compared to other building material forms.
It takes a longer period.
A longer period. If you are doing bricks, the interlocking
timber
for high timber is relatively shorter. Yeah, if the materials are available, you can get it, you can procure it. Yeah, versus constructing with blocks, I think the materials, like using the alternatives, is way cheaper.
Okay, Fadi.
Time is shorter.
With the question, my mind just comes with history. Let me just quickly run us through history. I think we live these days, buildings are a bit faster comparatively to what we used to know olden days, because looking at the Pantheon, the Sphinx and all those things could take like 100, 200 years plus to build. But history tells me that within our space now, buildings are a bit faster. But comparatively to materials, the blocks takes a bit longer because it has to go through processes, as you rightly mentioned. You need the bricklayer, you need somebody to come and do plastering, you need somebody to come and do finishing and all those things. However, if you're able to looking at alternative materials, if you are able to do your wood, your timber well, if you're able to season it well, if you're able to do all other things well, I think the timber construction, the proper construction of using timber, the time frame is not that long compared to, and also looking at hydrofoam, looking at bricks also, bent bricks are already there. So those ones also won't take longer compared to the concrete or concrete blocks.
Okay, thank you for that submission. But what I'll be asking now is that we've spoken at length about blocks, okay? I would really also want to understand what are some of the challenges with using blocks? Most people complain about the damp rises on blocks. And what else do you have to say as professionals?
So I think blocks, as you mentioned earlier, the dampness. If you compare using bricks to build, bent bricks to build, you don't really have the dampness rising on your walls as compared to building with...
Even with glass, even with steel, you don't see damp?
Yeah, you don't see a lot of dampness rising on the walls as compared to building with the bricks. And another thing is, looking at bricks in terms of the time duration, and also right now with the kind of materials that are needed to use to do the bricks is a really on the higher side. Yeah, okay. There's a bit of cost on it because of cement and other things. And you usually want to build with either steel to do the reinforcement, you want to build with concrete, and you still definitely need other materials that will complement the building, which will make it a bit more costly.
Now, we are in the era where, we are told to use eco-friendly materials for construction. What is the situation with the use of blocks? Is it eco-friendly?
For eco-friendly, I think for blocks, usually there are studies that will show that if you make cement in the first place, there's a lot of carbon emissions. So for saying that it's not eco-friendly, I think it's a good point to address that brick is not the concrete blocks are not eco-friendly, because even the production of the cement, moving into your site and all that, there's a lot of carbon emissions. There are other local materials that are available to every single client or every single user, depending on your location. There are other materials you could use, which necessarily would not even need you to move anything from anywhere. There are other ways of doing eco-friendly materials like recycling. They are
Okay,
recycled.
we are going to talk about that. I was just asking that pertaining to blocks, whether it's eco-friendly or not. But if you just join us, this is the Pyramid Show, and I urge you, tell me, what is the situation with the current material you use for the construction of your house? Or probably you have intentions to build more houses or to build your first house. What material do you have in mind to use? Send me a WhatsApp or SMS on 0500 180 697, 0500 180 697. As the experts in the studio, we help you understand the properties of that said material. Now let's move on quickly to bricks. I realize that in your conversation you're making a lot of references to bricks. What are some of the good qualities of bricks and some of the bad qualities of bricks? I mean the properties.
Okay, so bricks is eco-friendly. Number two, bricks is very durable. Bricks it's very thermal resistant in terms of sometimes when the sun rays are coming, bricks can be able to preserve your indoor air quality very well. Bricks, some of the disadvantages of bricks is with the material itself, you can hardly get disadvantages with bricks, but it's all about the perception of the idea which we have in here. Like for example, if moving away from bricks, I think bricks is a finished material of gravel or let's say clay. Mm-hmm. So if somebody sees you using clay in your house, it's like this building is not modern. Meanwhile, bricks is functional, very, very functional and very durable. So for me, I always recommend bricks if you have the means.
Zato.
Yes, so to add up to what my colleague just said, bricks have a lot of advantages. You know, for instance, fire resistance. Yeah, bricks can resist fire to a very high temperatures compared to the normal concrete blocks we have and other materials. So for what he was talking about, the thermal qualities of your indoor space, you have that advantage as well. And brick has a very long lifespan. Brick can last over 100 years if it's done well and all that. So once you build, we have buildings that have been put up with bricks. We've come to see them, we've read about them, we've studied them 100 years ago, and they are still there. And bricks have very high durability as well, so they don't really flake off, and it's not easy to be damaged and all that.
Does dampness take effect on brick buildings? Dampness?
Dampness, not necessarily. As compared to concrete blocks, I think bricks have very good quality with like moisture because of the way it was fired. That is, we are talking of fired bricks, not the normal earth bricks that you just make, but the ones that are fired with indoor quality and control. So those are well done. Dampness doesn't rise, like you don't really get dampness in your buildings and all that.
Now, speaking about blocks, you made mention of availability of the material and also the skilled man.
Yes.
What is the situation with bricks?
So I think with bricks, there are a lot of brick makers in Ghana. Within Accra, on the Cape Coast Road, if you are going, you will see a lot of brick making. But comparing it to the concrete blocks, there is not enough. It's not enough. But there are a lot of brick makers in Ghana. There are companies that are actually doing brick buildings. They have brick tiles. The ones you do, even after you build, you can use to clad your building and all that. So there are quite a number of brick makers in Ghana who are doing good work and good quality work. But comparing it to the concrete block, and the other thing is the individual, the choice you have to be able to do it yourself. For instance, if I get a bag of cement from the roadside, I could just make blocks in my own house. But it will be hard for me to do brick and fire it by myself and get the quality of brick that I need.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Paddy, still on bricks.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about the duration of construction.
Okay.
The speed of it. Okay. How soon do you get it ready? And also, let's talk about the aesthetical look of it and its cost involved.
Okay, so let me touch on aesthetics. Aesthetics is dynamic anyway. Depends on what one wants for his home. But for me, I always choose brick any day compared to the concrete blocks. Mm-hmm. I want to add up to what my colleague said earlier on. With comparatively, the availability of bricks compared to blocks is not that much, because I recall a project that I was doing for a client that we had to travel all the way to Winneba to get the bricks. And also in terms of cost, brick, the last time I checked in the market, one brick is about 6 cedis and one block is about 7.2 cedis. It takes about 4 to 5 blocks if you arrange them. The area, it takes about 4 to 5 bricks to get a block. So looking at the cost, one brick is 5 to 6 cedis. One block is 7.2 cedis, and it takes about 4 to 5 blocks. The area of 4 to 5 blocks to get 4 to 5 bricks to get 1 blocks. So comparatively, the cost of brick is always on the higher side than the blocks, and also we hardly get skilled laborers for bricks. Even if you get them, the cost per man hour or per labor hour is a bit on the higher side compared to blocks.
Let's talk about the construction period. How soon as compared to that of blocks? I mean, the speed of construction.
The speed of construction, if the bricks is available and you have the skilled laborers, the speed of brick goes faster than the blocks.
Okay. Some experts also believe that within brick homes and houses, it's much cooler naturally, even if you don't have the provision of, artificial ventilations, HVACs, and the AC unit splits. Is that true?
Oh yes, that's very true. But with the internal dynamics or the thermodynamics of rooms, sometimes the orientation and the design also counts. They are not just the material used. If you get a professional to design a home for you, it will be different from if you do your own arrangement and go and build it. There's a science to how the buildings are orientated. There's a way they calculate to know even the size of the windows per the space. So if you get a professional to design your house for you, that is also achieved. But with the material, as you were mentioned earlier on, the bricks have very good thermodynamics in terms of heat gains and heat losses. If you have a very cold weather, your room will be warm. Yeah, that doesn't allow the heat to be lost quickly. Okay. But if you have a very hot day, or like Accra, sometimes around March, where the place was really very hot, you will have a very cool internal room that you don't need AC. You necessarily don't need the AC at all, because the bricks have been fired to very high temperatures that heat is not really going in and out of it like that as compared to the block.
So we've mentioned blocks, we've spoken about bricks, but yet still on the clay family, we have the rammed earth, wattle and damp, then the hydrofoam. You want to speak about these 3 other materials that could possibly be used for construction?
Yeah, so
rammed earth
is really a very durable construction method. It lasts longer. It can also last for 100 years. And growing up, I think our chief palace was made of rammed earth. It was 3 stories. It lasted over 100 years. I think the last picture that was taken about it was in, I think, 1929. But I grew up to see that building before it was pulled down. So rammed earth can last long. But the issue with the rammed earth is also, as we're talking about the skilled labor, how many people are skilled enough to do it? And then you just don't go about using any material to do rammed earth. There are type of clay that you use, and there are compositions that you have to do. If the clay doesn't have certain properties, or the clay has certain elements in it that are not needed there are mixtures or preservatives you add to it. So the process of doing it, if it's well done, you have very good advantages against doing the concrete block construction. And the cost too is very cheap, and it's eco-friendly, as you were mentioning earlier on, because if you're in a locality where you have the material there, you can easily build. And our forefathers back in the days, they didn't have cement, but they were building. But I think now, partly because of our orientation of our mindset as well, we always seem to think that if you build your house with mud or brick, you are not there yet.
So let me say, on your screen is a construction made of raffia, and this is not rammed earth, so just for you not to be confused. Okay, now you've spoken extensively about rammed earth. It's not easily available. We do not have the skilled men. But let's talk about the cost, the construction period, and its thermal properties.
So let me take that. For me, comparatively with the blocks, the bricks, and the rammed earth, I'll pick rammed earth any day. A rammed earth seems to be lost, and now it's coming up as a new technology. And currently we have few companies doing rammed earth, which is superb, which is good. And for me, I'll choose rammed earth any day.
You choose rammed earth any day?
Any day.
Okay, but you've spoken about the temperature within when.
Yeah, so just like the brick, rammed earth also gives you a better indoor air quality.
And the lifespan?
Yeah, the lifespan is very long. It can be lifespan. Yeah, it can be over 100 years. It can be over 100.
Hydrofoam.
So hydrofoam too, it
still belongs to the clay family.
Yeah, still belongs to the clay family, and it's being used. If you go to Central University, as we're discussing earlier on, it's being used there. It's been used in parts of Eastern region. It's been used in so many other places in Accra here. Hydrofoam is also a good material to use, but it's just a form of the clay. But this doesn't go through the whole firing process, so it's durable, but not as compared to the clay bricks. But it's a very durable material, and it's cheap. If you do it at your side and you use it, you don't do any mortar joints, you don't do any plastering. So once you get it done, you can have the building ready and you can use it. So it's cheaper in terms of the time consumption on the building as well as its cost. If your building is situated at the location where the laterite is there and you can do it, it's way cheaper than building with any other material as compared to the time you take to build the structure. You can easily do the time, like half of the time, for building with the concrete blocks. The
cost of it, Paddy?
Yeah, so the cost of it is also mainly dependent on the skills, the skilled labor we have, because hydrofoam is more of compressed clay, and you need specific equipment to be able to get the hydrofoam brick or blocks to be able to do the construction. So luckily we have few companies in the system doing it now. The cost comparatively to concrete blocks are a bit higher compared to concrete blocks, but looking at the long-term effect into your building, looking at with buildings when you build it has its operational cost, and looking at using hydrofoam, it cuts down your operational cost of a building compared to concrete blocks. So hydrofoam is also one of the ways to go if we talk about sustainability, if we talk about renewable ways of building. Hydrofoam is also one of the ways to go.
Is it also eco-friendly? Is it an eco-friendly material?
It's very eco-friendly.
Okay, so if you're watching us, I would want to know what is the material you've used for the construction of your house. Tell me, what has been the challenges and what have been, the advantages with that material. Also share with me what you intend to use for the construction of your house by sending me an SMS or a WhatsApp on 0500 180 697, 0500 180 697. So we've spoken about blocks. We are done with the clay families. What other material is considered for construction of buildings?
Yeah, the materials, we have stones, we have timber structures, and then another method of construction is the wattle and dap.
The wattle and dap for the clay.
Yeah, that is also there, but for now it's not really.
Is it the typical Atakwame one, or
yeah, something like that? But this one, they are strips of either bamboo or fiber stretched inside, and then the mat is put in between it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, something like that. But that's a form of the Atakwame building that has been done before.
Okay, in recent times, we've seen a lot of constructions with more glass in it, not that of skyscrapers, but even typical residential homes with people making provision for more glass. What are the advantages and disadvantages of using a glass to build a house?
So I think I will just mention a few and then my colleague could add on to it. One other thing is, where we are located, like I'm talking of Ghana as a geographical location, our region is predominantly not glass friendly. Yeah, and the type of glass that will work for us is also very expensive. There are glass you could use for your building that you will not have a lot of heat gain and all that, but that kind of glass, the ordinary Ghanaian cannot afford to use them for his building. But we have the disadvantage of glass, mainly the normal one that is being used now, mainly being that it gives you a lot of heat gain in your building, so you end up buying a lot of fans, you end up spending on electricity a lot, you probably put in an AC, your operations on trying to cool the building will be more. But apart from that, I think glass is predominantly was for aesthetic purposes.
Aesthetical purposes.
Yeah, that's the initial point.
The belief is this: most of these tall buildings, almost reaching the sky, are made of glass. They are built either of glass or steel. Is it because it's lighter?
Yes, it's lighter and glass.
In weight?
Glass is timeless. Okay. Glass doesn't expire.
The lifespan?
That's what I'm saying. It's timeless. So glass doesn't expire unless it hasn't been installed properly. Then it breaks. When it breaks, it spoils.
But what about its fire-resistant properties?
But that's what I'm saying. Does
it burn easily?
Yeah, normal glass shatters when it's exposed to fire, as compared to probably the brick, the blocks, and all that. For the skyscrapers going up, what is making it up and not necessarily might be cost. And also the skyscrapers are designed, they are well-designed buildings. So sometimes when you see the kind of glass that is used there, it's not the same glass you are buying as your sliding windows in your house.
It's different.
It's different. Yeah, somebody will see a glass building, so they've used it to do this building. They've used it to do this building. But if you go with louver blades in your home versus you are using sliding windows, they are all glass. But they are glass that is being used in different situations or different methods or is used, and it gives you different effects in your home. So the glass can be used, but there are glass that they are using probably is openable. The glass they are using is probably laminated glass. The glass they are using is probably reinforced or even taken glass. But the one we buy, it's with heat. Glass, if it's exposed to a certain level of heat, it can shatter.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not really durable. And that's based on the use of the building.
Thank you so much. So we take a break. The show will be back after this. So you're still live on Joy News Television, The Pyramid Show. It's now time for my favorite part, that is the interactive segment, and Audrey Dushikafu is here.
Thank you, Emmanuel. So today we're having a discussion on the building materials and the methods. So currently we have varied ones ongoing. My favorite part for the methods, the material is rammed earth. I'm doing rammed earth any day,
Audrey, hold on. Since you're talking about using rammed earth for the construction of your house, what will make you take that decision with the use of rammed earth?
I'm loving rammed earth because of it's cost effective, it is durable, and it has this acoustic, the cooling nature, the earthly feel. I don't need to go in for ACs if I go in for the rammed earth. Why should I stress in going in for blocks or bricks and purchase an AC? So you can be a part of this interaction by sending in your comments to us on Twitter at @thepyramid_show and on WhatsApp 0500-180-697. So we dive right into our comments for the day. And our first comment coming in is from Eric from Kumawu. What is the best for building in a waterlogged area? What about plastics for building in Ghana? So the person is asking us, what about using plastic for constructing a house? So good afternoon, please, where can I get bricks to buy at Nkoko? And I need a contractor to buy damp-proof rubber. Secret roofing and the hip roofing, which one is best? That's coming in from Mike. Another is asking, a standard single room, should I go in for blocks or bricks? Which is more costly? Please, can bamboo be used as a substitute for steel rods in concrete works? Coming in from Felix Japasu from Asin Fosu. I want to know how many bricks can be used to build a single room. I have been told to buy 450 to 500 blocks to build a single room. Clarify these for me. That will be answered. My name is Peter. First time listening to this program. Mr. Uswansa, you're doing very well. Keep up the good work. Thank you. I'm about to start my project, and after weighing all options, the bricks are just too expensive than I ever thought. Even though they were my preference due to temperature issue, I still go by traditional cement blocks. Okay, please, my name is Thomas Yao. My question is, can you mix bricks and blocks to build? The availability of materials and funds play a big role in putting up a house. Coming from Anthony. So you can still join the interactivity by sending in your comments to our WhatsApp number 0500-180-697. Great discussion, thank you. I would like to find out other eco-friendly building materials you can use for your building aside the bricks and blocks. There is another material known as modular construction. I would like to get more education on it. Please, I want to know if I can use Ben's bricks to do the foundation up to window level and continue with blocks. That's coming in from Isaac from Accra. Regarding the construction of a house, what material will you recommend for my first house? Hello, I'm Patricia Owusu. Can I use red brick for my 2-story building, or I should use the cement block? And after that, I should use the red brick slabs to tile it up, like the way a bathroom is tiled up. So that will be all for the interactive segment. However, I would also want to ask Paddy and Jato. Is it possible to get the rammed earth in a 2-3-story building? Because if I would want to build something, I want to do something that is I'm going to make money out of it. So if I'm going in for a rammed earth, can I do a 3 or 2-story building? Okay,
thank you so much, Audrey. We shall be giving you all the answers and that of the many viewers that sent in your question. So Audrey wants to know, is it possible rammed earth going 2-story, 3-story?
Yes. One thing about building materials is that when we mention a particular building material, it doesn't mean that's the only material that's going to be used throughout the project. There are many times or instances where building materials are being blended together. For instance, you can do your building structure with concrete and then the walls are done with the rammed earth. You can do your building structure with concrete and put in the hydrofoam blocks to form the walls. You can do your building structure as concrete structure, reinforced concrete structure, and put in the modular units or even what we call container housing. You can put in. So that like building materials doesn't necessarily mean it's just one material. If it's block, it's all block. If it's stone, it's all stone. If it's brick, it's all bricks. And then I would like to just add that people are asking what you use for your building. People ask what you use for your building. I think that question needs to be answered by the person you engage, the professional you engage to recommend or design the building. It's the architect who has to prescribe or give the prescription of the material you are going to use. So you're not just that you feel like using this and then you go and use it.
Okay, so there was this question about, listing the other eco-friendly materials. That is one. Then another question came in with what is modular construction? That's also the second question I would want us to look at. Lastly, the last question will be, ideally, what building material, would you recommend that they use? I think that was a general question most of them sent in. So let's tackle that, the listing of the eco-friendly materials that can be used for the construction of a house.
Okay, so currently we have in the system eco blocks that is more sustainable within the system. Aside, a couple of companies do eco blocks. We also have the Raffia palm for building. You can also choose to use what's the name? Wood or timber itself.
Yeah.
It's a very suitable building material, very durable and also very eco-friendly.
So just to add up to what my colleague was mentioning, I think the eco-friendly materials of recent times, we have people that are now doing, it's not being tested in a large scale, but there are materials where they blend in melted plastic, recycled plastic, they mix it with sand and they make blocks. Somebody was mentioned, I think I saw a question about plastics being used. Yeah, it's there. It's as to the properties and then the durability and all that I can't say for now, but it's there. And there are other things like the waffle and dab we're talking about. There are timber structures that we can use.
So the question, what about plastics for building in Ghana? Yeah.
Yeah, so as my colleague rightly said, we currently have technologies of plastic being built in Ghana.
For residential homes?
Yeah, for residential homes.
Well, I mean, the cost implication aesthetically and its durability, lifespan, and let's talk about the thermal, properties of it.
For me, one thing I would say is that, there has to be a standard that checks whatever we do in Ghana. That's why we have Ghana Building Code, the Ghana Standards Authority and all that. Get it? But from the perspective of the company that I followed and the person I learned or researched from, it says it was very durable, it's fire resistant, you get it, thermal cooling and all that. But I can't say because there need to be a standard published by law that states that this material has this kind of properties. So sometimes the CSIR, they sometimes do a lot of the Building and Research Institute, they come out with those and they do testing. So like the rammed earth, for instance, rammed earth, if you test the PSIR with rammed earth against concrete, you can even get it all the same. It's not having cement, it's not having stones, but when it's compacted well, you have the same structural strength as compared to the concrete, or even more than the blocks. But it's just normal earth, it's how it's done. So for the plastics being used, there are different kinds of plastics you can use. You can also form your own blocks with the melted plastic and all that. But for the material component or the properties of it, I think that one has to be tested and published by law or standard authority that gives us the possibility to recommend those materials to other people. Okay,
so I was asking about plastic, its thermal properties, and let's talk about the cost of it.
Okay, so
thermal properties. I mean the heat.
Yeah, so heat gain within indoors comparatively to brick or clay or to
Plastic. Okay.
No, to break or clay. I think the bricks thermal qualities outweigh the plastics. However, for us professionals, as my colleague was saying, we are a bit careful recommending materials that have not been tried and tested within the system for a while. So for plastic, I know of a company that produces it, but I don't know whether the standard boards have approved it for mass production yet.
So I'll be asking you the question on its fire, resistant properties, but at this moment the phone line is activated, so you can call and be part of the discussion ongoing here in the studio. So the numbers on your screen, call and be part. So hello, we have a first caller.
Hello, good afternoon, sir.
Oyibo Boateng, good afternoon.
Yes, please, I'm calling from Kumasi Managing.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, please, I just want to ask. So how many blocks would one bag of cement produce? And additionally, between bent base and tar, which one is, the best when putting up a wall? Thank you. I'm really enjoying your show. Okay, goodbye.
Thank you very much. So he wants to know the number of blocks you have to use, and also I think he wants to know a better comparison between blocks and clay.
I think what I heard was how many blocks can you produce? I think with one bag of cement.
Yes.
So that depends on the block size you are doing. It depends on the block size you are doing. So we have 4 inches, 5 inches, 6 inches, 9 inches blocks. So depending on the size of the block he's doing. Yeah, so there are average that people do. For instance, if you are doing a 6 inches block, you probably would do maximum 20. You shouldn't exceed that. If you are doing, let's say, a 5 inches block, you shouldn't exceed at least 30. So 25 to 30, that's the range. But the person didn't specify the size of the block they are doing. So if you are doing pavement block sizes, you know that it's not going to be the same 20 or 30. It's going to be more, something like that.
Okay. So, hello, Ramora.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
I just want to commend you that I'm enjoying the program and I'm learning a lot from it.
Thank you very much, sir.
That's all I have to say.
Thank you so much, Ramora. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Keep it up.
Thank you, sir. Okay.
Bye.
So, thank you. We were talking about that is plastic.
Yes.
Sorry, yes, plastic. And I asked the question on its fire-resistant properties. And I think, sorry, I had to cut you then.
Yeah, so plastic, as I was saying, plastic has to be, for you to be able to use plastic in buildings. I have seen a model house being built with plastic. Mm-hmm. However, standards board having come out to say plastic can be used mass produced for building for the public. Because before standard board comes out, it needs to test all these things, its thermal properties, its insulation, its acoustic and all those things. So until we have a standards that come out that plastic can be used massively, for me, I won't comment on that.
You are going to be careful with telling people to use plastic. Okay, so from Medina Bernard. Hello, Bernard.
Yes, boss. Please, I would like to add the circuit roofing and the hip roofing. Which one is the best?
Please come again with your question.
The circuit roofing.
Okay, thank you so much.
And the hip roofing. I just want to know which one is the best one.
Okay, thank you. So let me pass this comment. Most people call the hip roof. This is a hip roof that you see.
Yeah.
They call it wig. It has a wig. So, So, I mean, he wants to know which is ideal, which is the best.
Okay, so to answer his question, I think basically it depends on the buildup of the water. Because we have the water, the rainwater comes down and it contains itself within a space before it comes down. For me, I always go for the hip roofing because the hip roofing lets out the water easily. But with the circuit roofing, it's very aesthetically pleasing. But looking at an area like a Brie, that it rains every day, circuit roofing won't be ideal for that area. But people always go for aesthetic over function. So.
Yeah, I would like to add a bit to it. When he asks the question that which is the best, is it like it's like asking, let's say, like a Toyota and then like Toyota Camry and Toyota Corolla, which is the best? Everything plays its own function. The circuit roofing, there's a way it's done, it can last long, you can enjoy it, you don't have issues with it. Then the hip roof, there are hip roof or exposed roof that you go around, you see the roof gutter. There are trees, not necessarily grass. There are trees growing on it. Somebody's roof has gathered sun to the point that you can literally see trees, not necessarily grass. Tree is growing on the roof. So usually it's the maintenance. And Ghana, if you are recommending a type of roofing to somebody as a professional, I think the speak to the one that is doing the design. Let the person give you why the person is doing what they are doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That
so now let's touch on that is timber. We've done that of blocks, the clay family, glass, plastic, timber. We have raffia, bamboo, and the normal timber law for construction. What are the advantages of using these materials, and why is it that even though we have it in abundance here in Ghana, we rather export them and rather using blocks?
Well, for me, let me touch on timber. Timber is very durable. Timber has a lifespan of 50 to 60 years. Exceptions to timber is redwood and cedar wood, which has a longer lifespan. But aside that, timber is a very good material. Mostly, I think it comes down to economics. It comes down to economics.
But do you think we have the skills, we have the men to do such construction?
Yes, we do. It takes a longer time. And of course, anything that takes a longer time it's very capital intensive. So it takes a longer time. It's very capital intensive, and you need very, very well skilled laborers to execute timber construction.
Okay, so let me talk to Isaac. Hello, Isaac. Hello, Isaac.
Yeah, hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. You are my last caller.
All right, thank you. So my question is for a first-time homeowner. What materials will the experts recommend looking at cost-wise and eco-friendliness? Then again, will the soil type, as in the soil type of the where you're having your structure, determine the kind of materials to be used?
Okay.
So that's my question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Isaac. So Isaac wants to know if the soil condition is going to inform the kind of building material you use, and ideally, as experts, what will be your pick, the materials to use?
So I think usually if you meet an expert in an architect to do a design for you, what the person will probably be asking or trying to understand is where the person is located. Yeah. So for instance, if you are located in a place where you are just by an area that produces bricks, I could recommend that you do bricks. If you are located at a place where you have to import the bricks from another region to your region because there's nobody actually producing bricks in your region, even though the bricks may be good for you and all that, but I would not probably recommend because it will be a bit costly. And also, the one thing too that we have to look at is the nature of construction or the methodology we use in constructing. Sometimes you recommend a material for somebody and then the person goes to do parts. For instance, for a bricks, the person can build the foundation and raise 2 or 3 courses and leave it and come back 5 years later to go and continue. You can't recommend someone to go and do a timber construction and he go and do one timber frame on the ground and leave it and come back 20 years later to come and continue the building. So I think sometimes the kind of client and then there are things that play into recommending materials. That's what I would say. There are things that play into recommending materials.
Okay, so the caller's question?
If you could take the question.
I mean, he wanted to know if the condition of the soil type, the condition, informs the building material you have to use. And also, ideally, what is the best material to use of all the many we've mentioned today? Okay,
to a large extent, I think the soil type or soil conditions determines the kind of material you have to use. For example, you can use the same material you build on, what's the name? On rocks. You can use those same materials using the same materials in the waterlogged areas. Those are 2 different soil types, and you need an expert to be able to give you an expert opinion on what building material you can use. Do you want to add something?
Yeah, I want to just add a bit to what you said. You see, there are ways you can always, for instance, the waterlogged area, there are ways you can treat the environment in which you are building and the method in which you are building. You can raise your columns and suspend the ground floor slab, necessarily not doing foundation. With the other side being open, you don't have the dampness and all that. So there are actually methods of building with every kind of material at any place that works. You can actually build with timber in water. You can build with concrete in water, but usually it depends on the expert and the methodology that surrounds it. So it's not just one thing that chooses or informs the choice of material. There are several things that informs an expert to tell you that, okay, let's go with this material to use.
Okay, so years back at the trade fair, once you entered from the main entrance, on your left was a very beautiful timber building. Now it's gone, and that was nice. And here you are telling me it's expensive, but we produce them here. And again, I'm asking, it's acoustic properties. Okay, if you have a television going on, probably in the living area, and you're in the bedroom, how's the feeling like? And it's fire-resistant properties.
So for timber, it's very durable to use, but it also plays down to sometimes if you are recommending material, you look at the person, how proactive the person in terms of maintenance. For instance, timber, if you don't maintain it frequently or you don't take good care of it, it deteriorates faster. But somebody else who can maintain it, or somebody else who has the skill set to maintain it, and then you recommend that material for the person, that building can last and to be there for a longer time. But looking at our settings here, we have a lot of timber around. But like you were mentioning earlier on, it's mostly exported. It's mostly exported. But timber, if you start recommending timber for people to use and do buildings, not necessarily the entire building per se, but sometimes a portion of it. And you see people doing a lot of buildings with pergola nowadays. Is being used around certain portions of the buildings and all that. So I think the timber is the maintenance.
Okay. Now, still on timber, I had the opportunity to look at what Madam Ophelia Akiwumi is doing with Raffia. And I think it will be shown on the screen. It is very fantastic. I think I have to share it with you if you looked at it. The use of Raffia for construction, even with the ceiling, the suspended slab. Yeah. So this is the washroom, what you see. Yeah. This is timber, and this is the washroom. And I mean, look at it. Yeah. That's the bedroom. Almost everything about what she had constructed is used. She used raffia, and this is the living area. Yeah. What do you make of such material for construction?
Well, as my colleague said, all materials are very good. Consult your expert. Your expert will guide you on what to use, what to use for where, and with this raffia, I suppose I've done a big case study on this building, and it's a very good initiative. But however, what I would say is I would love to look at the cost components on this building.
Okay, so your final words as we take leave in 30 seconds. We can't go beyond that. Final words.
Oh, okay. So I think I would like to just say that before you start to build anything as a homeowner, once you conceive the idea, consult somebody that will guide you in planning. Not necessarily doing a building plan for you, but somebody, the expert who will plan with you, and you can also let the person know your financial constraints, let the person understand how you are intending to do the whole project, so the person plans well with you and choose the right materials.
Paddy, your final words.
Yeah, for me, the best material is a professional. Please consult your professionals. If you don't know, if you don't know what to do, just simply walk into any assembly. I believe any of the districts have the assembly or works department in there, and they can also help you with your choice of material, with your choice of construction, and with your plan.
Okay, so and now you know that it's not always the case to be using blocks for the construction of your properties. We have quite a number of them, and also we paid attention to the key consideration you would want to look at in making that firm decision. It's been a great discussion. A very big thank you going to Francis Zato and Stephen Paddy. We say thank you very much, and also to you, our viewers. We urge you to also tune in same time next week. My name once again is Emmanuel Osansa. Thank you for being part of the show.